Hello, hello, we're live. I call the show Ignore the Machine. I call everything I do Ignore the Machine now. And our guest today, we have Chachi and John Logan, who are part of the team that put together Come Together. And there's another big event coming up on Saturday, and I like to have them on each, just before each one of these Come Together. It's a Beatles-related event. Chachi, let's start with you. I don't know. I'm sorry, John. I always start with Chachi.
It's all good. Go ahead.
Tell us what it is and what's going on.
Well, Bradley, we always love being here with you. You're so kind to let us share the screen with you. A year ago, September, we got a note from City Winery asking if we wanted to do a Beatles trivia night. And my lovely bride, Stephanie, who's much smarter than me, said, hey, we should call John Logan, Beatles magician extraordinaire, keynote speaker, and a very talented young Beatles fan. And we put together, well, Stephanie had this idea, and we put together a show called Come Together. It's a series with Come Together and a secondary title because each show is different. Each show looks at a different Beatles subject or historic date. And we did one or two. Next thing you know, the winery increased it till December 2023. And then earlier this year, they said, you know what? Let's go to December 2024. We're there every month. Every show is different. And this show is a little bit different as far as the day of the week. We've never done a Saturday noontime show before, but we're looking forward to it. We're going to have a great lunch there. They have the City Winery menu of which you can choose. And the subject is Come Together, the stories behind the Beatles' greatest songs. So we're going to tell stories. John will do his Beatles magic and stories, prizes, courtesy of Cheap Thrills Music. And what else did I miss? John Duke Logan. There he is.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
John Logan is a go-getter, among other things. He's a young and energetic go-getter, far more energy than we have. If it weren't for John, Stephanie, thinking of John, it would have just been a trivia night. But due to the introduction of Stephanie and John, or John by Stephanie, through Stephanie, it has become this big extravaganza.
Thank you. It's been awesome. It was funny. I was going through my phone today, and it was exactly a year ago today where Chachi and I did our first photo shoot together to promote this event. So it's just amazing how time flies, and the support we've been having from you, Bradley, and everyone for the show. And for those who may not know, that maybe this is their first time hearing about the show, just like Chachi said, it's called Come Together, and it's all about the Beatles. We tell stories, we play some video clips, some really rare video clips. I do some magic that's all Beatles themed, so you learn about the Beatles through the magic. We give away tons of prizes. It's really fun, and we design it in a way where if you know nothing about the Beatles, you'll have a good time, and if you know everything about the Beatles, you still have a good time. We've had people attend that couldn't even name the four members of the band, and they love the show. We've had other people who attend who know every lyric to every song, and they love the show. So yeah, it's fun. It's really
I'm
fun.
somewhere in between. I've gotten one trivia question right the whole year. Really, one. And I still have a great time. I go all the time, every time. And I go because it's fun. The environment's good. City Winery food is good, and their wine is, of course, I don't know if there's any such thing as bad wine, I suppose. But they have good wine there, and it's a lot of fun. The prizes. Do you have the prizes there to show us? Some of them, no. Sometimes you do.
I'm picking up the prizes tomorrow, and I will tell you, the sponsor, as you, Bradley, you've been our MC since day one. We so appreciate it. The audience loves you, and they all connect with you because you're such a historic figure in the broadcasting industry, going back to 1981 at WBCN, and so. Our prize sponsor, Cheap Thrills Music in Dedham, Mass, Bob Walsh, every month he comes up with about a dozen different Beatles and solo Beatles vintage LPs, vinyl, and we give them away. So the prizes will be all kinds of Beatles vinyl. I was just texting him. I'm going to see him tomorrow. So we'll see what we'll have. But I tell you, usually the prizes are great. They're vintage Beatle albums.
And it's great because when we give out the prizes, like you said, Bradley, for the trivia, it's okay if you don't know the answers because the way we do it is we have some trivia as you come in, you fill it out, you put it into a bag, and then once this question's on the screen, we just pick out a random one out of the bag.
Right.
That has the correct answer. We look at whose name it is, and you win the prize. So
there's no embarrassment, is what you're saying. Like you could just write down George for every, and you might win.
Yeah, and because we use it because we do some raffles throughout the show as well. We give away prizes, so we use that as the raffle. So
right.
At one point, we'll just pick out a name, and if your name is on it, even if you didn't fill out the trivia, you could still win something. So we love to give away things. Yeah.
You have people coming down from New Hampshire as well, don't you?
Yep. We have New Hampshire. We've had people from Ireland, a lot of tourists, because locally they're in their hotels. They want to find something fun to do. So we've had tourists from all over the world, people from all over the country who have ventured to our show. And everybody seems to enjoy it. We have fun. It is a cool Beatles vibe. Everyone loves the Beatles. Everyone is friends. And if you're not friends, you soon become friends. John and I have met many of the regulars who come to our show, and now they're our friends, and they come to our gigs and we talk, and so there's a lot of that going on.
Definitely a lot of love in the room, a sense of community that has grown over the years, and as people come together for the Beatles. The Beatles are...
That was John's idea, that title.
Excellent. I think that, by the way, people ask you, what's your favorite Beatles song? Yeah, I think it is Come Together. You always get asked who's your favorite Beatles. Beatle. And I think there are actually two questions. Who's your favorite Beatle? And you have to ask at the same time, which Beatle is your favorite solo artist when they're by themselves? It could be different. Like I used to say George is my favorite Beatle. I don't think so anymore.
Wow.
I know. I like George's solo work best now because of All Things Must Pass, but I think I like Ringo now because we focused on Ringo and I saw a lot of Ringo, and now I'm loving Ringo. So John can be a pain in the neck sometimes. Well, when he gets on those rants when he's just saying crazy stuff, it'd be irritating because he's in a bad mood or whatever. Paul, of course, I mean, he could be the favorite because he's he's pretty cool all the time, but now I'm digging Ringo. Yeah. So it's two questions. Who's your favorite Beatle, and which artist is your favorite? Which Beatle is your favorite solo artist?
Well, I will tell you that for me, it's George and George. And it has been for a long time. But in the beginning, in 1964, when I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, I was all about Ringo. I loved him on the drum riser. I loved his drum kit. He seemed to be having fun. And I became a drummer. And I'm not a drummer per se nowadays, but we do have a drum kit in our living room, a beautiful Ludwig kit. And so, I understand what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with loving Ringo Starr. I mean, it's a great catalog and a lot of fun, great man. But for me, it's George and George. John, what about you?
That's a good question because I don't want to give the typical answer that y'all like him for different reasons, but it's true though. But I think if I had to choose one, I've always been a Paul fan. I think his personality and his songs are really clever, but I think growing up I liked John. I think I was a big John Lennon fan growing up, and then the more that we've done projects and stuff like that, the more I've learned more about each individual Beatle, and I said, oh, actually, I relate to Paul more about how he approaches life and stuff like that. So I would have to go with Paul. Yeah.
All right. Now, as far as this upcoming event, which songs, if you don't mind saying, will we hear the stories of?
Well, yeah, we're actually doing 20 songs. So we're going to tell the stories of 20 songs and scattered throughout the event. I'll give you one of them. Speaking of Paul, or one of the most covered songs.
How about this? Don't say the song. Tell the story and see if I can guess it.
Okay, sure.
I'm not going to guess it.
No.
And you can guess at home, too. Go ahead.
So we decided to do 20 songs total throughout the event. And some of the songs are our favorite songs. There's some stories that we enjoyed. So there's some of their most popular songs, so maybe some songs that aren't so popular. But here's the story that I like to tell. Paul was 22 years old, and he dreamt of this melody. And he came into the studio and said, hey, guys, I dreamt of this melody last night. Is this a song? And the guy said, no, we've never heard this melody before. So he put some temporary lyrics to it just so we wouldn't forget the melody. And the temporary lyrics were about scrambled eggs. And then a few months later, he started transforming the lyrics here and there, and it ended up becoming this really, really big hit. That has nothing to do with scrambled eggs.
You knew that, Bradley.
I heard the story now. I forgot. I think it's the title is the name of a woman in it. No,
Bradley.
I'm sorry. I told you I'm a Beatles idiot,
See,
and so I give up. I've seen it. I saw the video. I just forgot. Don't hate me.
Listen, this is one of the biggest stories, right, John? And I'm always a little
I told you.
because-
You've told everybody that nobody gets made feel bad, so don't make me feel bad.
No, I just feel like, because John loves the story, and I do too, but I think it's been told a million times. But John, Bradley doesn't get it, so then it reaffirms what you say.
Right. So it's not you think everybody out there gets it. No, they don't.
Okay, I'll give you a line from a story that we're going to tell. And it has something to do, he's mentioned in it. His name is Eugene Quitz from the New York Police Department. He was a cab driver. And Paul and Linda.
No, I don't know.
Paul and Linda and their daughter hopped in a New York cab, and Paul saw his ID. Cab drivers have the ID.
Yeah.
And the driver's name was Eugene Quitz, and underneath it said New York City Police Department. So that was on it. Paul saw that and he put it in a song.
I give up.
The song is called "She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, and So I Quit the Police Department."
Oh, okay. So that's another story. That's a separate story.
That's a separate song. The one that I was talking about was Yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, you didn't tell him yesterday.
Oh, it's okay. So my story about the scrambled eggs and him dreaming of the melody, was the song Yesterday, and the song that Chachi was just talking about. That was I saw her.
She came in through the bathroom.
Okay. Well,
Which is based on a true story of his fans when he was away would break into his house and take things. And that's the song "She Came In Through the Bathroom Window." And then Paul threw in this sideline about a cab driver he saw in New York called Eugene Quitz, and he thought it was funny, so Eugene quits the police department.
Okay.
And that's
so now you only have 17 stories left. So I don't know if you saw this, John, but I don't know if you forwarded the letter I sent from Paul.
Yes.
To someone.
Yes.
Inviting him to be the drummer for Hamburg, the first a Hamburg tour. And it said, we're looking for a drummer. We'll pay you this much for expense, so many, 18, but not much. And I posted it, and my brother asked, to whom is this addressed? Who's this for? And that's a good question. And I didn't know. I said, I'll ask Chachi. And you were a little bit stumped by that, right?
No, I knew the story, but I wanted to confirm it because I had seen it before. I'd seen that letter, and I was driving when I saw it.
Okay.
But, back in the day when they were going to Hamburg, they needed a drummer. And he saw an ad in the Melody Maker, and he wrote to that box, the post office box. But apparently the recipient got it too late, and by that time they already had a drummer.
Okay, so we don't know who it was.
We don't know who it was. No, I could do some research on that in my vast library, but that's the overall story. And so there's another opportunity where someone could have been a Beatle.
You can tell. That's a story you can tell. Tell that story. It doesn't really have. It's not a story of a famous song, but someday you can tell that story. John, what are you getting at?
I thought that was a letter to Pete Best.
That's what I would have thought too.
And it confused me because I didn't think they wrote him a letter, and also Paul signed it. I'm pretty sure from the image, Paul from the Beatles.
I know, like the guy wouldn't know who the Beatles were or something.
Well, and also, I didn't think they weren't called the Beatles at the time before Pete joined the band.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, they had known Pete already, and he had a set of drums. That's why they took him.
Yeah, so I thought it was for Pete, but the timeline in my head didn't match up based off of what he was saying in the letter.
That's the overall story, and there is some more detail on it. But I do, we don't have a lot of time, but Bradley, our show in September is huge.
Tell us about the huge show in September.
Well, next year is going to be a lot of big anniversaries, 60th anniversaries for a lot of events. This year, it's going to be the 59th anniversary on September 12th of the Beatles performing at the Boston Garden. And so our show, Come Together, is going to be on Sunday, September 10th, and we're going to celebrate the Beatles 1964 tour with a specific look at the Beatles at the Boston Garden on September 12th, 1964. And as a special treat, our friends, the boys from Studio 2, the Beatles Tribute, who are great guys, been together for over 10 years, will be performing at our show, dressed up in all of their uniforms, the hair, the Beatles suits, the instruments, and they will recreate the Beatles set list from the Boston Garden show. That's on September 10th, right, John?
Yeah, that's going to be a great show.
Hey, next time when we do our pre-show show like we're doing now for next month, you think we could get one of the Studio 2 guys? Because they have, I think their stories are interesting about their insane equipment quests like that. There's a microphone they got that is a 50% chance it was actually used in the Beatles session, and the story behind that is pretty interesting.
And I say this with peace and love, but they're real geeks when it comes to Beatles equipment. And they're very period oriented, meaning they want equipment from that time. Certainly not necessarily mics that the Beatles used, but they have the Vox, amps, and they like to have the vintage period microphones. And for that, they're great. So they dot the I's, they cross the T's on their whole show, and that's going to be on the 10th of September at City Winery.
Right. Yep. And I don't know if I told you, you probably knew this, that a Berkeley student had a project where they needed to recreate the recording of a famous artist as exactly as they could. And so the student chose Studio 2 to do the project with the Beatles, and I invited myself to go, and so I got to see them do their magic in the studio. And they even placed their voices around a single mic like the Beatles did, I guess. Yeah. So again, it's this month's Come Together is this Saturday.
That's right.
The 12th. The 12th?
August 12th.
August 12th at 12, noontime, noon to 2.
Doors at 11.
Oh, doors at 11. It is fun to get there early. Rare footage, magic, and lots more. And
Bradley J.
Yeah, and I'll be there. And a lot of times BCN people go, and usually, I would say almost always, everybody meets somebody they didn't know. It's pretty cool. So I know John has to go. He's got a thing to do, and so this is a perfect time to say goodbye. Your new camera works great, Chachi. It's a big addition to these things. And I'll see you guys on Saturday.
Can't wait to see you, Bradley. John, always a pleasure.
And everybody, we'll see you there. Bye-bye.
You can go to our website here for the tickets.
Oh, yeah. John Logan, cometogetherproductions.com.
Yeah, the whole show's there. A beautiful website built by John Logan. The guy's unbelievable. He does so much.
Thank you. Good teamwork.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.